And I think it's also very important to, focus on where the fraud is here. So let's focus on some of this Somali fraud. So let's talk about Trevor Milton, who defrauded his investors, costing tens of millions of dollars. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Oh, he's not Somali, and Donald Trump pardoned him last year. We can talk about Paul Walchek, who stole over $7 million from his employees' paychecks. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison. He was also pardoned last year by Donald Trump. He's also not Somali. We can talk about Michelle Fiore, who stole over $70,000 meant for a memorial to fallen police officers and spent it on herself, including her own cosmetic surgery. You guessed it, Donald Trump pardoned her last year. We can talk about Lawrence Duran, who ran the largest Medicare-related fraud scheme in history. Yeah, there's a few more.
That's a long list.
It's a long list here. He led the largest one there.
Yeah.
We could talk about Filibuster Formas, who orchestrated the biggest criminal Medicare scheme in history, over $1 billion in fraudulent claims. We could talk about David Gentile, who defrauded over 10,000 investors of over $1.6 billion. Donald Trump pardoned him just last month. Okay, so if we want to talk about fraud, if we want to talk about corruption, you can't talk about them unless you talk about the fraudster in chief, which is Donald Trump. So I think it seems to me that conservatives and people on the right don't actually care about fraud. They only care about fraud and corruption when it's committed by an immigrant, a person of color, or someone who's part of the LGBTQ community. Because it's not really that fraud is what you're against. You don't like Somalis. So just come out and say that. Just come out and say that.
Okay.
Don't pick up this whole scheme about that.
I might say that.
Yeah, there we go. And that would be a little bit more honest there.
So your argument is Trump is more corrupt than the Somalis.
Correct.
Because he used the pardon power for these people.
Well, not just the pardon power. We can talk about many other things.
Let's take that.
Sure, we can talk about yes, absolutely.
So surely you would agree there's nothing corrupt about a president using the pardon power, which he has the absolute right to do.
I didn't say it's.
Do you see how bad faith these people are? Surely him using his presidential power is not corrupt. Yeah, he might have pardoned corrupt people that scammed a lot of people, but so it's not him that's doing the corruption, so it's okay. That's Michael Knowles' argument. This is not a real argument to have, bro. What?
He's corrupt because he used the pardon power.
Well, you said he's corrupt.
He's
here's
corrupt.
all my evidence. He used the pardon power.
Well, no, not that he used the pardon power. That he pardoned people who did corruption. If you pardon people who do corruption, then you're pro-corruption.
Okay, do you think Bill Clinton pardoned over 450 people, including 140 people on his last day in office, including many financial fraudsters, billionaire tax evaders, his drug addict brother, which has a resonance later on for Joe Biden? You would say Bill Clinton's corrupt.
Not a fan. Do not like Bill Clinton
Joe Biden pardons, gives a blanket pardon to his brothers who engaged in a lot of...
Yeah, not a good idea. I don't think Joe Biden should have done that. Yeah, absolutely. I do think Trump is unique in the way that he does this. And also, we could talk about crypto and Trump literally starting world...
So Michael Knowles was not able to defend the pardon stuff. So he had to do the, what about this guy? Because that's the only thing they could do. Nobody's defending Bill Clinton here. And when it comes to Joe Biden, I do think he shouldn't have pardoned his son.